Welcome back to To Be Seen. We're rocking and rolling, hopping right full of turkey. And luckily, Billy Pilgrim didn't get his gut spilled this weekend because we're going to be talking about the 1 week later release of Thanksgiving. But before we do that, obviously, you saw the thumbnail. That's why you clicked on it. But before we do that, we have a very special guest joining the fray this week. And that is none other than background actor himself, David Jones. My man,
Yeah.
how are you, buddy? Welcome to Be Seen. It's a little bit different here.
Thanks for having me, Joe. It's great to be here.
Absolutely, absolutely. We've said all the pleasantries earlier, introduced the enigmatic Billy to our good actor buddy, and we're going to get right into this. Let's not waste any time. So, what was it about Thanksgiving? An axe wielding maniac terrorizes residents of Plymouth, Massachusetts after a Black Friday riot ends in tragedy, picking off victims one by one. The seemingly random revenge killings soon become part of a larger, sinister plan. This was directed by Eli Roth, and the story was by Eli Roth and Jeff Rendell. Uh, so, right off the bat, we got to know, since you were there in the thick of it in the movie itself, and probably one of the more pivotal scenes, as it was at Right Smart, which is basically Walmart. How fun was it to work with the Eli Roth crew?
It was fantastic. It really was. I'll give the man a lot of praise. He was fantastic with everybody, and there was a lot of people there.
Yeah. So there was a lot of violence, and the death scenes in this movie were incredible.
Weren't they great?
They were so good. It was just so detailed, and it was like that couldn't happen. Then you think, well, maybe that could happen because it was realm of between reality and fantasy that just kind of worked so well. Were you gonna say, Billy?
I was going to say, trust me, I've worked retail before, and uh, I worked at an electronics store that I won't say the name of,
Yeah,
but we were right next to a Walmart, and I remembered at least 2 years where there were fatalities. So, yeah, there does happen in
yeah.
real life.
So this is actually based on a true story. How about that? Yes. All right, we're gonna look at the cast. All right, this stars Patrick Dempsey, Ty Olson, Gina Grisham, Gabriel Davenport, Karen Cleesh, Neil Burlesque, Rick Hoffman, who is the dude, Derek McGrath, Catherine Trowell, Jolene Thomas Brooks, Mike Amundsen, and Amanda Baker. Amanda was a standout for me because she was that pain in the ass Karen that worked at probably one of the hardest places to work, a diner, because you get so many disgruntled folks in a diner, it'll drive you nuts. And she probably became that, let that inner Karen go at the right mark because she was dealing with all that. It's like in the back of her head, she's like, those son of a bitches. And everybody wanted that waffle iron. It was super important. Um, One of the things that I mentioned in the uh, thumbnails that this is one of the best slashers that in my personal opinion, that I've seen in a long time. How do you guys feel about this movie in a slasher film franchise?
Bill, Billy,
I
you go
thought it
first.
was great. Oh, you go first. You're the guest.
No, this is definitely a throwback to 80s and 90s slasher movies. Um, it definitely lives up to the hype, I believe. And this definitely could be the new Halloween.
Yes, Billy.
I love anytime when there's a holiday themed horror film. There's not enough of them out there. And I mean, there's been Thanksgiving, there's been uh Poultrygeist. To actually have like a mainstream, like non like straight to video horror film dedicated to Thanksgiving feels nice, and actually getting a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All right. With that being said, let's talk about what worked. All right. So this is the segment of the show where we talk about some of the highlights of the film. And as you know, we were talking earlier that these death scenes were incredible. Um, I think my favorite one would have to be the scene where Karen, the diner actress gets killed by getting thrown in a dumpster. I thought for sure he was gonna like throw her in the ice room, the freezer, because her face got stuck and got all ripped up. I thought she was gonna end up in there, freeze to death, and he was just gonna like poke her head off or something like that. And then it just took a far right turn and just did something totally askew. And I thought it was incredible. And I'm like, there's no way that anything like that had happened. And then you think about it, and you're like, well, wait a minute. If a car was pushing the top of the lid and it slammed because of the weight of 3,000 pounds of car, yeah, that could technically happen. So, David, let's start with you. What are some things that worked for you with this movie?
The stepmom getting hers. That was pretty gory. I actually, when I was in the theaters, I cried. What's the word? Cringed a little bit of him doing her like a turkey drumstick.
Yeah. There was a little bit of cringe. Yeah, totally. Billy?
Oh, I love the originality of all the different deaths. I mean, and also just I was still going back to that waitress thing at the beginning. I liked that, like, the facial recognition didn't work on the phone because the freezer doors messing up the face, and they couldn't use the touchscreen because the blood from the face got like the touch sensor is screwed up on the phone. So
Right.
couldn't unlock, just the trying like, oh no, can't unlock it, can't do facial ID. Oh no. But also, like, one of the other deaths that I was a big fan of was when they made the girl deaf with the corn. Holders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The corn husk holders.
Yeah.
Yeah. However, death scene as well too had different items, right?
Right.
Yes,
It was all
Thanksgiving.
themed. Yeah. It was very clever.
Yeah. I will mention one of the things that didn't work, but I will save that for when we get to that segment.
Yeah.
It was actually hilarious because we were there at the Right Mart when her torso was strung up on the store.
Oh, yeah.
So we were like, what is this? What's this? Who's this? It was really fun.
So did you know like who was offed, or you have to like, was it all a mystery until you saw the movie?
Yeah, it's all a mystery. Like, I don't know about for the regular actors, but just for the extras, you only told a little bit of the story and so forth. But yeah, it was more for the Right Mart scene for the Black Friday Massacre and stuff like that. It was pretty wild. It was fun.
Yeah. One of the things that worked for me was the constant swerve. They really made you think, okay, his football career is ruined because of this Thanksgiving Day massacre. And, you know, you had two main, at least for me, you had two main suspects. You had the husband, and then you had the boyfriend, the ex-boyfriend. And those, for sure, you're like, okay, definitely those two were behind it. It was in your mind that, yeah, without a doubt. And the way they filmed it and the different angles, for sure, you were like, yeah, that's who it was. That's who it was for sure. No doubt about it. And then the story unfolds and there's this total swerve and it's somebody else completely. And I thought that was very good writing on the part of Eli Roth. I didn't actually figure until the last couple of scenes that it was who it was. I thought they did a great job with this slasher to kind of like, you know, put it all on Bobby and really thrust it on Bobby, because you think of the body, the figure when they killed the security guard and he like picked the guy up and cut his head off by like piano wire. So you're like, oh, okay, for sure it's somebody that used to be an athlete because he was able to pick the guy up and he's not humongous. He's not towering like a Freddy Krueger, Freddy's not like a Jason Voorhees, and he's not, you know, outrageously big like Michael Myers. This guy's kind of svelte, like a real pilgrim that was hungry and needed Native Americans to feed him turkey. So you're thinking, oh, for sure it was Bobby. The height, like the way everything was laid out. But then you look at the main guy, and then it's revealed that, you know, if you haven't seen it, spoilers, but, you know, the least likely, probably the biggest part of the budget, Patrick Dempsey was the killer. And I thought that was a great swerve. What did you guys think about that? I'm starting with Dave.
I thought he was a great villain.
Yeah. Billy?
You know, I'm just curious, since like they made Patrick Dempsey magazine's hottest man. This is the only new film he's done this year. Is this the film that got him that title? Oh my god, he got the magazine title of the hottest guy of the year because of Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving got him a magazine headline.
Yeah, that was incredible. Another highlight is how, most slasher movies, the kids are not thinking straight. And when they went back in the school later on in the film, when the guy who took the megaphone and caused the riot was outed basically for doing that from the security footage, and he became a gym teacher, and the two kids went back into the school. They were going to go make out or whatever, and then they get abducted, and we don't see them again until the very end of the movie. But his death scene was also incredible, and that whole layout was like, okay, this is a mad killer on the loose. The hallway is super dark at the school. Do you really want to go down that path? Like, come on. And sure enough, they did it. It's like, oh, geez, So I thought that it was very clever, the setups that led to these outrageous deaths or kidnappings. That I thought that worked really well with this film. Another thing that I thought worked well, and I really hope they do another one of these, was the whole setup. It's like your movie is based off of the madness that is built on Black Friday, and it causes a lot of issue. Even Billy would live through deaths of Black Friday murders. So, that I think that worked really well to tie it in. I thought it was going to be a psychopathic pilgrim that was coming back from the dead based off the trailers and the whole, the mask of the pilgrim. So I was leaning towards, this is going to be one of those supernatural type of things. But then it was just a dude.
Scream style.
Yeah, it was Scream style. And I really appreciated that. I think that worked really well. What are some other things that you guys thought worked well? David, we'll start with you.
A certain ending that leaves open, will this be a sequel? Where very Halloween, what was it, H2O, was it?
Yeah.
Or Resurrection of End vibes? Yeah.
Yeah.
The dinner table scene with all the heads was pretty, that was unique.
Sick movie. Billy?
Okay, I'm gonna go with going back to the death of the girl with the corn husk things. I like that they had a sense of humor. I mean, well, a smart thing with that first, because when all people are getting killed, her dad's like, "We're leaving the country. Get your stuff. We're getting out of here." Mm-hmm. He had guns. He had a bodyguard. He was not like, "Oh, let's just wait till somebody kills us." They were like, "Have security escort. We are getting the fuck out of this country. We are going to." And then they get killed anyway. I mean, I like that. That was one of the smarter secure things. I mean, I just like that. Oh, let's bail. You don't see enough of that in movies. There's always that, I'm gonna try to fight the guy. You never see, I'm gonna turn tail. I'm just gonna run.
I'm just gonna go to Florida. Screw this.
Also was good too was the well-placed humor. Especially, the scene with the Black Sabbath scene. Who's Black Sabbath?
Yes,
that's out of here
right.
Now.
Get out of here right now. Yeah.
You don't know who Ronnie Dio is? Get out of here.
Yeah. That character was a very neat, side character. I thought, here's the guy that's, it probably, to me, trapped in that 90s grunge look.
Yep.
But he's the guy you go to. He's got all the drugs. He's got all the guns. He's got all the knives. He's prepared. And he's the one you go to for sure. And he survived
for guns. They did try to get armed to try to protect themselves.
Yeah. And he survived the movie, so he can definitely be in the sequel. I thought that was very good planning. I actually really enjoyed his character and his sidekick too. I thought we were going to see instances where his sidekick was going to be more prevalent because, he acted like the bodyguard at the party and, had his little velvet rope that he would take with him, in order to get in the house, he had to get past and everything. So I thought maybe, we were going to see them come together, team up and try to stop the killer, but it was another swerve. They just kind of got the hell out of Dodge. But how about that really cool 80s cameo from an 80s slasher that we loved? And that would be Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Did you guys notice that?
Yes.
Of course. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. That threw me for a loop. I was like, oh, that's the clown face from Killer Clowns from Outer Space. That movie I thought was one of the underrated movies of the 80s. It was such a creepy and fun film that it's something that I watch on rotation. Like it's a once a year must. And if you haven't seen that film, it should definitely be on your playlist. Definitely check out Killer Clowns from 80s Outer Space.
And see it before the remake, because they are doing a remake of that.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Well, we talked about everything that worked about this film, including these little cameos and tidbits. Oh, we got to talk about the other side of that coin and what didn't. All right. So here's the fray of the other side. Now, to me, there's very little that didn't work. It had all of those classic ticks for every checkbox that you want to click for a slasher film. It had the boss villain that is a misguided sort that is out for himself. You had the real villain that was killing everybody. You had a masked madman that was the perfect protagonist in this film, and you had victims left and right. So they really hit all the proper ticks on the bookmarks. So what didn't work for you guys? I only have one thing. So we'll start with Dave. What didn't work for you?
A glorious death scene for myself. I was really hoping for, it's your first ever horror movie. I was hoping for a glorious death scene, but this Right Mart security guard, he had to survive, of course.
Hey, at least when they do the sequel, you'll be right there.
The only thing, the only thing I've read for most people saying is too many people survived out of that table scene at the end. They would have been okay with maybe like the dad getting killed off, maybe a couple of extra people. But I think that's the only nitpick I've seen online.
Mm-hmm. Billy?
Well, one of the nitpicks I have heard online is the fact that, this did start out as a Grindhouse trailer, as when you saw the double feature of Grindhouse with Death Proof and Planet Terror, they had a trailer for this movie that you could see the original idea for this film. And that one was actually a little bit gorier, a little bit campier, and a little bit more R-rated.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with them losing some of the nudity and stuff like that, but I'm not okay with the fact that when they cut the security guard's head off, they did not sew it to the body of the turkey. If you watch the original Thanksgiving trailer in Grindhouse, yes, the mother gets deep cooked as a turkey, like roasted. But there's also a regular turkey on the table, which has the head of the other person on there. The severed head is supposed to be stitched to a bird. Why did they stitch it to a turkey?
Yeah. I just wish we could have had Michael Biehn in it. That's the only thing that didn't work for me. I know that would have cost the budget. There was a very low budget. We're going to get into that in a little bit, but very low budget movie. But I know that the budget would have ticked up for him. But he would be worth it because he's such a fun dude. And maybe he didn't want to go to Canada. Maybe it's too cold for him. Did they film this in the winter or did they film this do you remember?
So when I was at the Right March, that was actually Easter weekend this year.
Oh, wow. So this didn't take long at all. Wow, that's amazing. I thought for sure it was like a last year film.
No, yeah, that was shot Easter weekend this year. I know part of it was shot in other part of Ontario as well too. I think the house in Plymouth, I think that was filmed in New York.
Oh, wow.
I remember them saying that they had some filming in, I think it was New York.
Yeah, that makes sense. We have a lot in New York. We both originate from New York, Billy and I, and there's a lot of old houses from New York from 17, blah, blah, blah. So I can see that. I can totally see that being shot in one of those houses.
It was actually funny. It was a gorgeous day that weekend too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And Thanksgiving's always coupled with here and the fall and getting really cold. And this year, we have this massive thing, the Thanksgiving Day Parade. and it's always usually very cold, like in the 20s. Because of global warming, it was like 60 degrees. So like, it's a nice day today. It's a nice day for a chopping up. All right, so let us talk about the reception. Well, this is no brainer here. This had absolutely fresh reviews from the critics, and fans loved it. Full of popcorn, fresh popcorn, 78%, 82% fresh from the critics. This will go down as definitely a beloved, probably a new staple in Thanksgiving horror movies. I think it's well noted that you guys actually, David, you're included, uh, pulled off a great film. This was a really shockingly good horror movie, a slasher that I think is going to be akin with some of the great classes like the Jason and Halloween franchises. What did you guys think? Start with David.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, Eli obviously had huge shoes to fill after that original trailer, and he's had so many years, people asking him to do this movie. Yeah, I definitely, especially the way they ended it, this definitely feels like it could be the new Halloween. Not bad on a movie that only had a small budget.
Mm-hmm. Billy?
I admit I have like weird taste and stuff for like holiday things like that. So, like, where some people would probably spend Thanksgiving watching like Charlie Brown Thanksgiving specials, I'm probably gonna be watching this.
This is my new thing.
This is my new Thanksgiving tradition.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And then let's talk about the news. All right, Thanksgiving breaks horror movie box office record due to namesake holiday. Director Eli Roth's new slasher Thanksgiving breaks a horror movie box office record over the weekend of the holiday inspired by. The Thanksgiving movie achieves a rare horror box office success with an 11.1 million gross in its second weekend, landing on the top 5 chart. The movie, directed by Eli Roth, is based on a parody trailer from the 2007 double feature Grindhouse, featuring a killer pilgrim. The movie had an impressive week 2 drop off of just 31%, making it the smallest drop for any horror movie in 2023. That's some big news. I mean, 11 million to make. It made, I think, 30 or 40 million already. So that's a great win for the studios and a great win for Dave, because maybe next year you could be the pilgrim.
Never know.
You never know. You never know, because a lot of great background actors end up getting roles as like horror movie killers and kind of catapulting themselves up. So who knows? Fingers crossed. We're rooting for you, David.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Were you surprised at the great reception and the big news and how well this movie did?
Going into it, like I said, I had huge expectations. I'm happy so happy the way it turned out. It was, like I said, this could definitely be the new Halloween, in future times. Yeah, it was fantastic. I enjoyed every minute of it, and a lot of my friends went, and they said the same thing too.
Yeah. And how awesome is it when your friends go, "Oh, I saw you. There's David. Look. Oh." That must have been a great feeling. And you're like clearly there. It's not even like, "Oh, that was me. Did you see my shoulder?" It's your face right centered. That was perfect. It was a really good shot of you there. A couple of times I think I saw you.
It's actually funny is when the kids, and when they go up into the Right Mart before the Black Friday sale, when they cut off the one security guard, I was on the opposite side of him, so you couldn't see me there as well too. But when they rushed the Right Mart, I was actually out the front doors where the 2 other guys were, but the camera was off to the other side of me. So I'm like, come on, but obviously everything turned out well.
Yeah, you're right. And when they returned to Black Friday, this is follow up. You're right, square center and everything. So good on you. Good on you.
Hey, if this ever turns into a cult classic, I can say I was a part of it.
That's right. That's right. It's a fantastic movie to be a part of. Billy, any shockers there with the success of this film?
No, actually, I'm amazed that the film. I thought it could have actually done more. I thought they waited a little too late to open it. I thought maybe the film should have released earlier on in November, just like first week or something like that. Catch it, get
Well,
more
no,
like
you had
a
the
theater.
Marvels first week of November. You didn't want to come out during the Marvels. I thought it was properly released for sure.
True,
Though
but
the Marvels
who would
didn't
have
do
thought?
that great comparison, but it for sure was in a good spot. I thought this was perfect planning. And I have a feeling this isn't. It's going to be one of those movies that people will go back and see because the death scenes are so over the top.
Oh
I
yeah,
know I'm going to see it again next weekend. So
I don't care what the movie says. I'm getting the leftovers. I'm gonna see it
yeah,
again.
that's
No
right.
matter what happens.
That's
Yep,
right.
I've watched it again myself as well too.
See, yeah, absolutely. Such a great movie. So much fun. Um,
Bring a friend. Just take as many people as you can to see it. Just
exactly, exactly. And then one of the things that surprised me with this film was obviously having Patrick Dempsey as your villain. He's always a good guy. And having such a big swerve where he's the villain was like, oh, wait a minute. Did you guys see him being the villain or were you shocked at the end as well? Dave?
Well, like I said, when we were filming, we weren't really told much of who's gonna be the villain.
Mhm.
But I think when we started getting into school and the police weren't really doing much, you were maybe starting to get the idea. Maybe it was something was going on here. Because why aren't the police doing more? And like they even said that in the film as well too. But yeah, Patrick Dempsey was fantastic. I definitely want to see him more. If there's ever going to be a sequel, I want to see him more as the villain.
Yeah. It could be like a charred, overcooked turkey. I was well done this last Thanksgiving. This Thanksgiving, I'll be just right. Really?
Oh, I just still love all of the. Well, of course, there were so many tropes, but so many good ones. I mean, of course, we had the fake jump scare at the end with the dream sequence.
Yeah.
Classic.
Classic.
Classic, yeah,
And
classic.
it was interesting because it's like almost everybody that was either a familiar face because they did have, well, Patrick Dempsey and Gina Gershon. I mean, I was like, wow, these are familiar people. These people were 90s people. And
Yeah.
of course, they're either evil or dead very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, let's have a final glance at this film. As we've said before many times, this is going to be one of those new slashers that's going to be a must see around Thanksgiving or Halloween because it fits into both worlds. I believe we are set for a proper sequel, and the world is your oyster when it comes to the Thanksgiving series. So I'm looking forward to whatever they do next with this film. And I like this redemption that Bobby went through in this movie as well, because he was the jock star that had the huge up and coming successful career that everyone thought was going to go big places, and then his arm was broken into pieces, which was another great scene. The way they shot that arm, it looked like he got his arm mangled. It was like,
Oh
oh
yeah.
god, yeah. So for sure I can see a lot going like this. It's a huge universe that they can build in the Thanksgiving world. So at a final glance, I thought the perfect setup for a follow up. You still have your main in the background villain, which would be Thomas Wright from Wright Mart. You have your main villain that obviously survived, a la Halloween 2, in the 70s Halloween movies, and some good guys that haven't gotten picked off because for sure I thought the buddies were like Lonnie and his girlfriend were not going to make it, and they survived. So we have more people to pick off as well. So we got a lot of opportunity for complete and total destruction. What are your final glances? We'll start off with you, David.
I thought the casting for this was really well. I know a lot of people are chirping on Addison Rae and what her performance was going to be like. But they all did a fantastic, stellar job with this.
I agree. Billy?
Right now, I'm just amazed when it comes to like holiday themed horror films. For some reason, the fall seems to be like reigning supreme. Between this and Halloween, you get good horror films. I mean, as I've seen like Easter horror films that never really stood up. I've seen like a Fourth of July horror film, Uncle Sam, which is a cult classic, but just not really that great. There's been Valentine's Day horror films that just
Yeah, I remember that.
left you
Yep.
kind of feeling like something. To actually get a satisfying horror film that's not Halloween related just is
Yeah.
nice to see
Yeah.
another holiday get a chance to shine and actually do good.
Yeah.
Yeah. My thing with that as well too is you got somebody as the director who knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Eli Roth is one of the biggest directors out there for horror. You see all this stuff during Fear Fest for AMC and stuff. The man knows what he's doing, and he delivered.
Yeah. I remember seeing him for the first time in Inglorious Bastards. And, Eli Roth, I thought for sure he'd be this little dude. He's huge. He's a big guy. I was like, oh, wait a minute. That's Eli Roth? I can't
Yep,
believe
no,
that. Yeah.
I felt the same way when I was on set with him. I'm like,
Yeah, I'm sure.
"That's
You're
Eli
like,
Roth."
wow. Oh man. I like I said, the world is the oyster for this. There's nowhere to go but up for this franchise. I think we have an opportunity to do so much with this whole Thanksgiving horror slasher flick. I can't wait to see what they do next. And you did mention, Billy, that there was once an Easter horror movie. Did they try it? What was it called? Easter or?
Actually, I forgot the name of it, but I saw it at Walmart.
Oh, was it about
Yes,
the
it was one of
bunny
those
people, or
$9.99 movies that you can just buy like on DVD.
was it like the
It was
bunny?
bunny themed. Yes, it was
The
the
bunny.
Easter bunny killer.
I was going to say, I can
Don't
see why it
remember.
didn't take off because the Catholics are probably like, no, you can't have killer Jesus.
Actually, that would be interesting. Yeah,
I'm back from the dead with
we
my
have Jesus
revenge.
Christ Vampire Slayer. Why can't we?
Oh my God, that would be
Oh
amazing.
my.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. Jesus Christ Vampire Slayer for an Easter movie. Just freaking hell. Make a sequel to that.
Yeah, there you go. David, congratulations on being in this fun film. Thank you so much for joining us really quickly for this quick review 1 week later. What is on the horizon for David coming forward?
We shall see.
All right. It's always hush. You can't really talk about it. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. This is 1 week later on the To Be Seen channel. And if you enjoyed this, be sure to check out tomorrow. Every Tuesday, we'll be in the console room talking about Doctor Who. This is a big time for Doctor Who. We have the return of David Tennant and Donna, and the story that revolves around them is quite entertaining. And we're going to get into that tomorrow in depth. If you are a Star Trek fan, be sure to go over to the Captain's Quadrant, our sister channel. We have a lot of fun talking every Thursday about Star Trek, past, present, and future, because we always have a future speculation. And that's where you will see our interview with David Jones, who had the amazing opportunity to be one of the best Strange New World episodes from the second season. We appreciate him greatly for that. My co-host there is at his own channel, the Jason Roygaston channel, where comedy goes to die. You can join Jason and all his furry friends, including the man in the side corner there, as they get into movies, gaming, and so much fun. They're even talking about different cartoons, including the new show Breaking Wind, which is the Last Airbender. You get it? The Last Airbender show. And finally, our buddy there, the little furry friend, has his own show. And I was a guest there last week. And that is Pop Culture Spread. You can catch them every Friday night at 6:30 in the US and 9 a.m. in Australia. And that's over at Pop Culture Spread, where Rick and Jace talk about upcoming and all movie and streaming news and upcoming events that are going on. And speaking of events, I will be hosting a panel this Saturday at WinterCon. So be sure to stop by, learning about international podcasting. And there's going to be a big surprise. The next day, I will be doing another panel, and I'll get more into that on the social media. So be sure to follow everybody on our socials. You can follow us at To Be Seen or the Console Room. You can follow Dave. Dave, what is your handle there?
At Actor Damon 686 official on
There you go.
Instagram. And the same on Twitter as well too, or X.
Oh, perfect. All right, so be sure to follow everybody there. Billy doesn't have social. He's not very sociable, so be sure to send all the comments our way that you want to shout out to Billy. So until next week, stay safe and don't eat too much turkey.
No leftovers.